What's going on, everybody? Steve here with Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com, coming back to you with another live show. I'm here with Dylan of the Wholesale Formula and Dan of the Wholesale Formula. And today we're going to be sharing the story of how these guys went from a $600 investment, flipping items, selling stuff from retail stores, Targets, Walmarts, Barnes and Nobles, who knows, all over the place, and turning that into a $25 million wholesale business using a new software right now. So I told the guys beforehand, there's like a 25% chance I might mess a little, you know, a little of this, a little of that up, but I think it's working. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me okay? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you. Hey,
okay, yeah. Perfect.
And I like that dope intro. We got Kimberly saying hi to Steve. Yeah, I like that dope intro you had playing.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you guys here, and I am looking in the comments right now. We got a bunch of people in the house. If you could hear me, if you can see me okay, let me know. But we got D. Brooks in the house right now. We got Frugal Nista in the house saying howdy. We got, let's see, the Moroccan Indigo saying howdy. Everyone's saying howdy right now. We got Love Always Tiffany saying hello. What's going on, Tiffany? Yolanda, Carly. We got Judy in the house. What's up, Judy? How you doing? We got California in the house saying, has it started yet? Because I don't see or hear anything. I'm keeping you guessing right now with this new software we're using. So Diana, Junkman, Kimberlyn, Tim, Vincent. We have so many people in the house right now. Really excited to have you guys here. And I do want to say right now, if we hit 200 likes during this show, then I'm going to be giving away a couple $100 Amazon gift cards. So, Dylan, do you guys like free stuff?
It's pretty good.
I mean, I love free stuff.
Well, I have some bad news.
If you're asking me, will I hit that like button? I'm in, Steve.
Well, I have some bad news. I'm going to need you guys to hit the like button, but you guys can't win since you're on the panel.
Well, I'm in, brother.
Awesome. So it looks like we got a bunch of people smashing that like button. And I do want to say as well, before we get started, put some questions in the comments. If you have any questions for Dan and Dylan of the Wholesale Formula, and again, these guys went from a $600 investment to building over a $25 million wholesale business, right? And actually last year was their best year ever, which we could talk about. There were some pretty cool things they talked about in yesterday's webinar if you guys were there. But if you have any questions, throw them down in the comments, and I'm going to be going through the questions in a little while. We do have some questions that I pulled from the webinar and from some of the videos that we're going to be asking Dan and Dylan over the next couple of minutes. But just want to welcome everybody. And again, don't forget, let's hit those 200 likes because, you know, we're going to give away some free goodies. So let's jump right into things, guys. Dan and Dylan, I want to ask you, I talked a little bit about in the beginning, you started with retail arbitrage, but maybe Dan, can you share with everybody, how did you guys get started? Like, what's your story? How did you, go from retail arbitrage to flipping stuff to eventually building, a 7-figure online wholesale business?
I can go ahead and tell you that it was not easy and it was not a smooth journey, my friend. So strap in. Here's kind of how it went. And it's funny because whenever you tell a story like this, it's like I'm going to tell it to you over, say, a minute and a half or 2 minutes. But you have to bear in mind that this is years and years. You know what I mean? It's crazy how these things evolve over time. We got started in 2011, and it was kind of interesting because I've always been one of those guys that love the hustle, right? Like in college, I had an eBay store that actually did 6 figures with video games. But whenever I went out and I started getting a real job, like I didn't have time to run my eBay store as much, right? And that was one of the things that I kind of lost a side hustle. So one of my buddies came in to the company we were working at the time, and he was talking about he gave his resignation, and this guy was getting paid over 6 figures, and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, how what are you moving or something?" And here was his exact comment, Steve. He's like, "No man, I just make more money sitting at home in my underwear selling stuff on Amazon." And I was like, "What?" Because at the time, like I didn't even know that you could really sell stuff on Amazon. I mean, I knew it was like a place, I knew it was a bookstore and they sold other stuff, but I didn't know third-party sellers could sell products there. And I was like, what? Like eBay? Are you talking about eBay, man? And he's, no, man, I sell on Amazon. I was like, oh, that's super interesting. How's that work? Yeah, and because I have this memory in my eBay store, shipping orders. Like, you guys know the hustle. Like, it's not easy to run a successful eBay store. And he said, no, man, it's kind of different. Like, you ship all your inventory to Amazon, and then whenever they get an order, they ship it to the customer, and they deal with most of the customer service. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. Like, that sounds like eBay the way I would love to do it. So we went out, and I was immediately enamored by this thing. So I went out to a Walmart, and he showed me that scanning app, and we went through and we scanned a whole bunch of products. And sure, I mean, it was crazy. Like, I actually found something that you could sell and make money with. And I was like, well, I'm still skeptical at this point. So we buy it, I send it in, and it sold literally the day. Like, I sent in a whole bunch of Disney cards. It was the very first thing I ever bought. And the very first day it received, like, they just started flying off the shelf. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is a real thing. Like, people actually pay these, I bought a product for $3 at a Walmart, and I just sold it for $15 faster than I could count to 10. Like, it was, and I was just blown away by the model. So over the next 6 months, I mean, we were out there in the stores, we were shopping. If we weren't shopping, we were packing and shipping, and this was with a full-time job too. Like, it was just whenever there was time, we were doing it. We were getting that hustle. And in December, it was crazy because we started with that $600 credit card, but in December we did $50,000 in sales, and that was without putting any extra money. That was just maxing out the credit card, shipping in the product. As soon as it sold, paying off the credit card and doing it again, just over and over and over. And in December we did that $50,000 in sales, which at the time felt really unbelievable to me. Like, I couldn't believe that we had made that much progress in that short period of time. But something really terrible happened in December. 4 days before Christmas, I got fired from my job. And it was absolutely devastating, just being perfectly honest. Like, I went from having a 6-figure salary, and it was one of those instances like where I had a great salary, but I didn't actually have a lot of money. Like, I didn't have any credit. When I grew up, my mom, she got absolutely ravaged by credit. Like, she had, she misused her credit cards and all those things. And I got to see literally how it just can destroy somebody's life. And I was never going to let that be me. So I had always avoided credit situations. I bought my house, I bought my car, I paid my wife's student loans off, like all those things, so I wouldn't be in debt, right? And we'd had a couple little unfortunate things come up. Like, I had to replace the roof on my house because one day I walked into my bedroom and it was just dripping out of the ceiling. I was like, what? And had to replace our HVAC. So the day I got fired, I had $4,200 in my bank account. I had a 1-year-old daughter at home and not a clue what I was going to do for money. And I remember I went down and I sat at the office for a little while and I cried, and I was just honestly trying to come up with what was the most reasonable thing that I could tell my wife. And looking back, it was insane. I decided that I was going to tell her that I quit my job and that I was doing it to pursue this Amazon thing full time. And like, you guys are probably like, why in the world would you do that? And it was, there were 2 reasons, man. I was like, number one, I was super ashamed. Like, here I'd been the breadwinner. Like, I'd always felt like I had just, been doing my job, like being the guy I was supposed to be. And I had that taken away from me in 1 minute. And then the other thing is I wanted her to feel like it was going to be okay. I didn't want her terrified. Like, my goal was to make her feel like this was a situation I was in control of, that it was my decision, and it wasn't something that just happened to us. And it was actually years before I told her the truth. I mean, I never really, it was like years later that I told her that I didn't quit. And I remember when I went home and I told her, and I was like, I was real, I'd been practicing in front of the mirror and everything. And I got home and I told her, I was like, hey, I got some pretty big news. Like, I'm smiling, I quit my job today. I'm ready to really crush it with this Amazon thing. And she started, like, immediately her face, just like the color left her face. And she was like, seriously, go get your job. Like, go get your job again. And I was like, well, I can't really, no, I'm really confident. Like, we're hammering this Amazon thing. And then, but there's something that happens to you, right, Steve? Like, whenever you're in that kind of situation, your back's up against the wall, but you don't have a choice but to perform. I mean, you have to perform, right? And that was what we did, man. Over the next year, it was literally If I was awake, I was working. I was out in a store, I was shopping, I was reading something online about how I could get better, or I was shopping online, or I was packing and shipping orders. And I mean, it was like a religion, man. I mean, it was 70, 80, 90 hours, whatever we could physically push ourselves to do. And it worked, man. Like, that's the thing, you know, if you really put the effort in, it's not always pretty, but it works. Like, it works. And that year we did $850,000 in sales and made, our margins were fantastic. But, you know, it was 80, 90, like crazy hours. And then the next year, and it, you know, but I wasn't going to let it win, man. I wasn't going to, you know, I wasn't going to give up, and I wasn't going to let my family suffer. So I had to do it. Like, I felt like I just had to keep moving forward. And the next year was the same. Like, we changed a few things, and like we tried some new strategies, and it was like, well, hopefully this will give us like more margin to work with and everything, just so we don't have to work as much. Like, you know, it wasn't that I just physically, like, you get to the point where it just feels like you can't really keep giving more. You know what I mean? And that's where we were, man. And even with the changes, everything worked out. And I think we got to like 940,000 in sales. And that was it though.
Wow.
Like, you know, all this extra work, like all this, everything, and we couldn't really push past it. And where it really hit me, man, it's like, you know, it's exciting having your business and everything. It's exciting being kind of in control of your own income and stuff. But where it really crushed me was the Thanksgiving. And, you know, this was the second year in a row, the second one where I had to get up from the dinner table, and I didn't get to experience that with my daughter. Like, I didn't get to sit there and have Thanksgiving dinner with my daughter, man. Like, whenever you start thinking about it, it's just like, we get into business because we want freedom, right? Like, we want to be able to live that life where we can enjoy people's presence and really be there for our families. And I wasn't able to do that. And honestly, it just broke my heart. Like, I'm sitting there going away, and it's like, this is supposed to be one of the times I'm most excited to be out on the road shopping, because I'm going to get paid, and it's not a question. But here I am thinking about leaving a turkey dinner. And when you think about it, you know, these situations come up, right? And they're finite. Like, once I decided to leave that Thanksgiving dinner, I never get that back, man. It never comes back. Like, I never get to see my 2-year-old daughter eat a Thanksgiving dinner again. And when I started thinking about it, it was like, man, this is not the business I want. And I am willing to do whatever it takes to live a life that I can enjoy. Like, live a life that I can be present and be around my family and really just be the dad that I want to be. So the next couple of years were rough. Like, I'll be honest with you, it was a rough thing because we were working ourselves to death. But like, it got harder because at that point we knew we needed to do something else. And, you know, that's the point where everybody gets afraid, because, you know, it's, even though I knew I could do arbitrage and I knew I could crush it and I knew I could make good money, it was comfortable. Even though it was hard, it was comfortable because it wasn't scary. It was something new. And whenever we started this new thing, it was honestly, it was terrifying. Like, the first business we did, we created a retail store, a toy store, a specialty toy store, which was a terrible idea in Enroll, Kentucky. You've been to our area, man. Like, it doesn't have the customer base to support it. But our goal is like, maybe I can work in my store sometimes, and I can work on my Amazon stuff, and then I can go home and see my daughter at the end of the day. That was my goal, and it didn't work. So the next thing we tried was a retail website that sold My Little Pony collectibles. And you can imagine how that worked out. It didn't work out swimmingly, but it wasn't terrible. And it's one of those things like where, you know, whenever you fail at something, you take it for what it is, right? Like, it's a learning experience. And that was just another one. It was a tough learning experience. Like, we ended up not losing very much money, but we dedicated a lot of time and effort into trying to make this thing work. But what we learned is we learned a lot about how to make a website, like all these small little things that it's just like tiny little things you learn along the way. And then the next thing we tried, like, we failed with that. And it was like, wholesale's our next one. Like, you know, because that's a model where product comes to you. And again, if I can make this work, I can go home at the end of the day, I can spend the day with my family, and I can get up and just be proud about the business I own, right? And well, that didn't work. Like, wholesale didn't work for us. We did it literally the same way everybody else did. We started by Googling wholesale, And it tells you to go get go to distributors and wholesalers, and you can find all those little sites where they can sell you leads and all kinds of crazy stuff. And we did all that. Like we went and we set up accounts with tons of distributors and all the stuff, it sounds like you're supposed to do. And then we got our price list, and it's like just scroll. Look at, and then you find an item where you make 48 cents. And it's like, how does anybody ever do this? Like, how does anybody ever do this? Like, how do how are they making a business out of making 48 cents? And from there, it was just, it perpetuated. It's like, if they're not making it work that way, maybe they're going to a show. Maybe that's the answer. Because that was, everybody else mentioned ASD, right? And I remember we decided, hey, heck, we're going to ASD. But the thing is, that costs money. Like, it cost money that we really didn't have. But we went there and we were this was our wholesale. This was going to be it. This was going to be our wholesale business. And we go up, and it's just like awkward conversation after awkward conversation, scanning products, never finding anything that works. And here's and it's like once you get in those situations, you start trying to justify being there, right? It's like, well, God, I flew here. I've been staying here all week. Now I need to be able to pay for my trip. So like, you talk your into self, like, it'll work out, man. Just place the order. And I finally found a product where it seemed like it would work. We place the order, we get home, and the product shows up. I look at it, and we're literally losing money. And it's just like, I mean, honestly, at that point, it's probably like one of the lowest points since I had started the business, because we've been relatively successful. Like, I felt like the only thing I could do reasonably was drive around in a truck or a van and pick up stuff. That was the only way I could make money. And it's just like, it kind of felt helpless, honestly. Like, it felt like I couldn't just make anything work. So, and it really did. It started with one product, man. And this is like, one product sparked a light bulb, and it's the next thing and the next thing. And the next parts just never happen without the hard stuff. And I remember I was sitting at my desk, and, this is just a product that I have sitting on my table here. And I just picked up a product. I was like, why can't I sell this thing? Like, why do I have to contact 60 distributors to see who might have this? So I decided, like, that day, we're going to call the company, and I'm going to say, where can I buy this product? Where can I buy this one product? So I called that company, and I was like, guys, I'd love to carry your product. Can you tell me which distributor I could buy it from? And they were like, well, I mean, I can give you a list of distributors if that's what you'd like, but we'd be happy to set you up an account and let you order direct. And I was like, what? Like, I don't have to like call 4,500 people, and I don't have to scan 77 catalogs to find this. Like, you guys will legitimately just sell it to me. I don't have to do anything. And they were like, yeah, man, we'd love to set you up on an account. And then it was like, oh God, what's this minimum order going to be? Is it going to be $20,000? What is it going to be? And I was like, so what's your guys' minimum order? And they said it was $250. $250, Steve. Now, bear in mind, I had worked for almost a year to try to solve this problem. And that was it. All I had to do was pick up the phone and call the manufacturer, the brand, and they can sell direct, right? And it's like, I kind of felt like an idiot for about a minute, and then I felt like, holy crap, I can make a whole bunch of money doing this. Easy. I'll just call everybody. I'll just call them all. And so that was my next mission, man. It was literally, I'm going to call every single person. My tail will not leave this seat until I have called 100 people. Like, I was just furious. But then it got harder, man. Like, it's like I found my little break, just enough little breathing room to get me reinvigorated, and then it got hard again. And it's like I call these people, send an email or whatever, and they say, "Hey guys, man, we're not looking for any other Amazon sellers." And so, like, God, I'm literally just trying to give you money. That's all I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to give you money for this thing. And they just weren't interested, right? And I remember this one product. I'd been starting to try to get back into shape a little bit and working out, and I started taking a couple of supplements. And there was this one product that I really, really liked. I mean, and I sent them an email, and I was like, "Hey, I'd love to carry your product on Amazon." And I got the typical response like, "Yep, we're not really looking for anybody else, man." And this was where it clicked, man. This was the change that took us from having a struggling business to being able to create a $25 million business that runs itself. And this was the one trick. And so I decided, like, I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm going to call this guy and just, if nothing else, I'm going to help. Because, like, I go to their listing on Amazon, and it was awful. I know their product's amazing, but their listing looked bad. Their competitor's product looked great. And actually outsold them, and I knew that product was worse. I knew it was worse. So I called the company, and I was like, hey, guys, I'd sent you over an email asking about potentially carrying your product and becoming a seller for you guys on Amazon. And you said you weren't interested or weren't looking for Amazon sellers right now. And he was like, the guy was like, yeah, and I'm in it. I was like, whoa, you know, that's just almost hostile. And I was like, I mean, I understand, man. I'm sure you get contacted all the time. I'm probably annoyed to death. And, you know, everybody probably just wants to sell your product. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, man. And, you know, we don't need it. Like, we're currently dealing with 2 of the biggest sellers on Amazon. And I just can't imagine there's anything you can do that they're not already able to do or can't do. And I was like, no, I mean, and at the time, these guys were, you know, this product was carried by E-Tails and River Colony Trading. Both of those companies do well north of $100 million a year on Amazon. And I was like, no, I mean, I absolutely agree. You know, those companies are amazing. They've accomplished a ton of stuff, man. But do you have just one, man? I would love to show you just, if you could just go over to your listing, I'd love to show you just one thing, and maybe you can take it to them and they can help you out with it. And he's like, sure, man. You know, because who really wants to turn down help? It's like, I'm literally offering the man help, and just take it to your guys. You don't have to work with me, no nonsense. And I told him, you know, I use your product. Like, I get it. And so we go over to his listing, and he goes over and he brings up his product on Amazon. He doesn't even know what he's looking at. It was just like, yeah, man, I'm here. And I was like, hey, can you bring up another tab and bring up this product? And I was like, yeah, you may not know, but that's your competitor. And he's like, oh, I know. I definitely know. So he brings it up, and the first word that came out of his mouth was, wow. And, you know, that listing was beautiful. It had tons of pictures, had a great title, amazing bullets, like a beautiful description. And I was like, I was like, yeah, I mean, so you're seeing their listing, right? And he was like, yep. And I was like, in real life, you know, not on Amazon, how does your product perform against that? And he was like, you know, we crushed them. Like, we're way bigger. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, now on Amazon, let's go down here and scroll down. I'll show you this thing called sales rank. And we scroll down, and he sees it, and theirs is lower than his. And I was like, so, you know, you can go over, and, you know, this is for you guys too. There's a free little widget out there. You can check it out. It's called junglescout.com/estimator. And it'll tell you can plug in a sales rank, and it'll tell you how much a product sells on Amazon, a good, real close estimate. And that product sold about 3 times as much as his. I was like, so you guys absolutely crush these guys in real life, but they're absolutely destroying you on Amazon, and they continue to get new customers. And he was like, you know, he didn't know what to think at the time. And I was like, currently you have the 2 best sellers or 2 biggest sellers on Amazon. And you're absolutely right, man. There's nothing that I can offer you that they can't. But what I can offer you is getting it done. Like, you know, you can see right here that your listing there's tons of issues. You need pictures. You need a better description. And these are all things like, you know, you're going to be my second client. You're going to be the second one. But I'll make sure that this gets done for you every single time. You'll never have to wonder if your product's being featured right on Amazon again. And it was that, you know, and it was crazy how probably poorly I executed this conversation, but it was pure value. It was, I want to help you understand this better. And if you will work with me, if you give me just the chance to work with you, I will literally prove it to you by investing my full self into your product. And ultimately he did. He decided he'd start working with us. And for me and for our business, that was the day it changed. That was the day we realized that, you know, yeah, I can send an email and say, hey man, I'd love to give you some money to buy your product. And they can say no to that. But it is so much harder to say no to help. Like, if I reach out to you and I say, hey man, I'd love to help you out. I don't want anything. You don't have to work with me. You don't have to do anything. Take it to your other sellers. Like, guess what? Like, they're much more invested in wanting to listen, right? And if I can do that, if I can convert people like that, not only am I developing somebody who's just wanting to do business with me, I develop a real partner who's invested in me, right? Because they know I can actually help them, and now they know that I'm willing to invest back into them. That's a little long-winded, but that's kind of catches us up a little bit.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. That was a really cool story. And it's amazing how, you know, you see people who are successful, right? It's easy. You see people who are, you know, making 10,000 a month, or they have $1 million business, or you guys have made, you over $25 million in sales. And it's easy to just think, well, it was easy for them. It just came to them naturally, right? It was, it was just money handed down. And it's a simple fact that, we all start from square one. And I know a lot of folks are watching right now. I know a lot of people in the comments who are just starting their business, and they're trying to find their way, and they're trying to figure out, they're saying to themselves, why is it so hard? I keep getting punched in the face by my business and life, and I'm getting knocked down. And, and that's part of the process, is going through the challenges, the ups and the downs, and trying to figure things out. And, that's why I'm so grateful to have Dan and Dylan here. And we're going to get into a couple questions with Dylan in a minute, but I'm so grateful to have you guys here, because for myself and for the folks watching, we don't have to go through the same challenges that Dan went through, that Dylan went through. And, we can learn from their mistakes and their challenges. And, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the free workshop that Dan and Dylan put out. We've been promoting it the last couple of weeks. I've been getting a ton of comments from people. You've got to invest in yourself, right? Whether it's a free training or a paid training or just watching this video, model success. You don't have to reinvent the wheel or try to do everything on your own, because Dan, when you were first getting started, there was no Wholesale Formula. There were no free workshops. I mean, you could Google stuff, but you didn't know who to listen to, who was legit. You know what I mean?
It was actually crazy. I mean, looking back, I'm not kidding. And I'm not, this is not, I think there's a lot better free content out there nowadays, honestly. But at the time, I mean, in retrospect, what we read and what we did actually set us back in the journey. It's like, and as far as progression, it made us callous. It made us tougher. Like, we had more hardships, but the information we had didn't help us. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, that we continue year after year to do the free workshop. And it's because it's our chance to give back. It's our chance to help people maybe understand if this is or if this is a model that can make sense for them. If it's a model that can potentially change their life like it did ours. Because, I mean, I'm telling you, man, it has been an absolute game changer. The life I lived then and the life I'm able to live now because of this model are two completely different stories.
And it's amazing what you guys.
I like to say that we failed 1 million times so that the people that we work with and can only have to fail a couple hundred. Because we failed our way to success, and that's the way that usually it has to work, right? And to kind of summarize, so you heard the story that Dan told there, where it ended at figuring out our business model, figuring out what it would be, reverse sourcing wholesale, that you can call the brands direct, you can open those direct accounts, and then he started turning down on accounts. They don't want any more Amazon sellers, and then he figured out a very important thing that I want to make everyone understand here. And understand about this business model, and really this is a business mindset piece in general. Whether you do this business model, you do something else, this will matter and be important and factor into your success if you understand this core concept. Dan realized that if he provided value to that guy on the phone that he was talking to his company and to his business, that there was the potential for him to be rewarded, right? So Tony Robbins has said this many times. It helped me to really understand it. And it's, how do you make money in this world? How do you make money? And it's a very simple answer. It's you provide value to someone and they give you money in return. And so that's how you do business. That's how you have a successful business, is you figure out, how can I provide massive value to someone and then be rewarded? So that's what our business does. We identify brand owners. We would identify Amazon products, contact the brand, and figure out ways, no matter what it is, how to provide value to them. And then they reward us with a profitable wholesale account, right? And it doesn't matter if we know how to do the thing that they need help with. We listen to them. We ask them questions. We figure out what's their business needs, what are their pain points, what are they struggling with right now, and I listen, and we go, whether I can help them in that moment or not, we go back, we plan, we research, we come back, and we help effectively solve their problems, and we are rewarded with highly profitable accounts. That business, when Dan, what Dan was talking about, that pinnacle moment when we figured out that model and started scaling that, went from $1 million, about $900,000 in sales, to where we completely changed to wholesale. The next year, about $3.5 million. Basically triple the business, or it was 1.2 million to about 3.5 million. So basically triple the business in 1 year. And then the next year did about 6 million. After that, just like an insane growth pattern. And not only was it an insane growth pattern, once we started to figure out like, oh yeah, like provide value to people. Yeah, that's a good idea. We also learned that with our business model with reverse sourcing wholesale, it was probably, and this was by accident. This wasn't on purpose. We didn't choose it because of this necessarily. Knowing all these things, it just kind of happened by accident. But it ends up being a business model that can be delegated and outsourced and scaled very easily because you're able to use a prep center to have all your products sent to, so you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to, pay employees to do that. You're the first employees that you in your business don't have to be. They are actually the first ones in our business were virtual assistants from the Philippines that you can pay $3 an hour to do highly important critical tasks in your business, like find products. And that's not hard to teach them because our product sourcing strategies are very binary, where it's just like, look for this. Is this number greater than this number? Or is that this? And it's very easy for them to do. So we ended up completely phasing ourselves out of the business, right? Where so many of the components of the business were automated and delegated to things like virtual assistants, where we could grow way faster than, if I had to hire a $30,000-$40,000 employee. And got to the point where the only thing we had to do in our business was reply to emails and call people. And we grew it, and we grew the profit to the point where we didn't even have to do that anymore. We were able to hire a domestic employee at a certain point for them to do the calls, for them to do emails, and then we literally had almost nothing left to do except what we do now, which is have a team meeting about once a week, or maybe we'll have like we'll call an emergency meeting in the middle of the week, and we'll have 2 meetings in a week just to make sure everyone's on track and that we're doing a good job. And that's just where our business has evolved to now, where it's weird as like a 30-year-old, to sit here and tell you like we're not. We don't work in our business really so much as we're like shareholders. It's like not even CEOs, right? We're just like a board of directors at this point, and kind of just oversee and govern and give long-term goals and strategies and planning and ideas to our team, and a lot of it happens and it's effective. You brought up 2019 was our best year, most profitable year ever. Like every year it's just better and better. It doesn't slow down. Part of the reason to that is because Amazon grows like 20 to 30% every year, and we just kind of grow with it, which is nice. We had some serious breakthroughs at the end of last year. We added 4 wholesale accounts at the second half of the year. That combined, like those only 4 wholesale accounts, those 4 wholesale accounts combined for somewhere, it depends, it can fluctuate a bit. It'll end up being somewhere around $700,000 net profit in 2020 from just those 4 wholesale accounts that we added on top of our business, right? And not counting everything else we'll add in 2020. Net profit. Now people don't like to talk. People like to say sales and revenue and shit like that. No, that's a net profit that we'll be able to generate from these accounts because they're so big. We're constantly learning, and we're constantly getting better now, and constantly trying to share that with the students and the people that we work with, right? So that's where we're at now.
Whenever we first, one of the first times we had that breakthrough, like we immediately just started posting and talking about it in a group, like in the TWF group, because it's not just that. We wanted other people's opinions to start getting other ideas involved in it. It was crazy how fast it's developed too.
Interesting. We got a question from Reseller Flips, and Reseller Flips want to give you a big shout out. He sent a $9.99 super chat in, and this new software I'm using, I guess it doesn't tell you when a super chat comes in. So no disrespect to Reseller Flips. Thank you so much for that super chat. I saw it on my phone. I'm looking at the comments as well. Much love to you. So I want to answer Reseller Flips' question, and I'll pass this over to Dan. Is the communication with these companies, these wholesale companies, mainly by phone or by email, social media? I'm assuming by phone, but just thought I'd ask. Thanks.
No, we actually start. It's kind of like a funnel system for us, right? Like the beginning of our funnel is we always send an email first, and that email tells you a lot about the company. Like if they say yes, like that's something I get the account, right? And that's what most people want is yes. That's not actually what we're looking for. I love companies that tell me no. And the logic behind that is I love whenever a company tells you no, it shows you that they really care about their presence and they're going to defend it. It's not personal. And that gives us that opportunity, just like I did in that story, to overcome that objection, right? And that's the companies, those are the ones. If you build your business with those, your business is going to be consistent. Now, if you build it with the companies that don't care and you're constantly just grabbing low-hanging fruit, like your business will be like it'll be like a roller coaster. And so I love being told no. And whenever I get that no, so email first, that's whenever we bring phone call in. So if they say no to my email, that's when I want to pick up the phone. And that's just, I can start overcoming those objections. So that's always our funnel there. Now, if you are, if you can't make a call, like we've had tons and tons of students who have limits on their ability to call because international or what have you. A lot of those people, they just follow up with a much more descriptive email, and they're able to solve it through email. So, there's multiple ways you can do it. Our preferred method though is email and then phone call, because I feel like your best conversion is always going to be talking to somebody. And there's a reason for that. Why do you convert better on a phone than you convert through an email? And it's because it's a higher touch point, right? It's much harder to tell somebody no and know that they can hear you and respond to you than to tell them no in an email where the communication just shut off. Realistically, if I tell somebody no in an email and they come arguing at me, I could just never choose to never answer them again. But while I have you on the phone, it's much harder, and they're much more likely to listen to you. So if you can talk to them and provide value, that's how you're able to convert. And that's our focus, is getting them there so we can start providing some level of value, whether they want to work with us or not.
Interesting. And Dylan, what are your thoughts? Because there was a comment that came in before from somebody who wasn't very amused by wanting to talk to people all the time. Is this and I could so relate to that, because I've dealt with anxiety myself, and sometimes I get a little introverted, as hard as that might seem to believe, being a YouTuber. But, do you have to be an extrovert in order to land wholesale accounts? What would you say to someone who, what advice would you give to somebody, Dylan, who's like, what, I think this is just too hard to start wholesale. I got to talk to everybody. It's just seems like way too much. It just seems easier just to go to garage sales and thrift stores.
Right. And so Dan explained earlier that he went, we went to trade show. We went to ASD a couple times in Las Vegas, where you just have to walk up and talk to the sales reps, or sometimes it's the owners of the company or whatever. And it's just real awkward and hard, and you have to build up, a bunch of confidence. And we were terrible at it because we're weird guys, we're weird introverted geeks, right? Like Dan and I met each other, 15 years ago because we play Magic the Gathering, the card game, right? Because we're just nerds. We're not like the most sociable people, right? So we're not great at that either, and it's always been weird for us. But you can succeed, just like Dan said, primarily with email. You just have to learn how to. You just have to change your strategy a little bit. You'll have to email more companies just to make sure that you're getting your message out there, that they're seeing you, and you just have you'll learn the concept of pattern interrupt, how to send emails that make people want to read, right? You start researching things like pattern interrupt in emails, this certain kind of subject lines that catch their attention, and then you're providing value, or you're getting them to be aware of things in the email, and then they're just like, man, this guy's clever, this guy's interesting. They want to start talking to you. They want to learn more about what you're talking about, getting help from you, and then in some cases they'll even be calling you. They'll be interested enough to call you. And then that puts you in a different perspective, a different position. When you can get brands to call you, you're in the position of power. They want to know, right? They're trying to get stuff from you. So when that power dynamic is flipped, you feel a lot more confident too. And it's a lot easier to hold those conversations, right? So that's one way.
One of the things that I want to point out, though, and I think, because this is I promise, Steve, that this is one of the biggest fears that we see in our community, is people that join TWF and they're afraid to get on the phone, and so I promise you, if that's your fear, you're not alone. Like it really is probably one of the most common things that we've ever seen within our group. But one of the things that we try to do is, and one of the ways that you can definitely get better at this is, I don't sell myself. Like when I call a brand, I'm not pitching. It's not like a script where I'm just pitching. Like our focus is adding value. And one of the things that we've done, and because, this was awkward for me and Dylan too. Like I wasn't just natively good at this or inherently good at it. Like it's a skill that we've developed. Like, I made it sound like I really wooed that guy on that first call, but it wasn't. Like it wasn't that smooth. Like
it was an awkward call.
Awkward, but I was there for the right reason, and he understood it. So one of the things that we've really done over the past few years is we've developed a system that makes it much easier to have these conversations where it doesn't feel like you're pitching. Like it's it's not scripted, but it's position. I would say positionally scripted, right? Like it's like when you're here, you want to direct the conversation this way, and that's what we do. Is it really is. It's just calling somebody and having a conversation. And what we've seen is a lot of our TWF students, like whenever they struggle with this in the beginning, but they start doing it and they just continue to go through that process, it starts becoming more natural, and they really do start having success with it, and it becomes a strength. So I would tell whoever feels like they struggle with that out there that don't just assume that you can't do it. Like you can get better at this, whether it's with us or by doing it yourself. Like I promise you, it's a skill you can develop because I know it's one I developed.
Exactly. Kimberly Stone says, sometimes once you start talking, you realize you're not so scared. It's just that initial initiation, right? It's that.
One of the things I do, and this is a tip, guys, like this is, every time I make a call to a brand or to a business call, like a high power business, something that I felt like mattered or could move the needle in my business, I promise, I get butterflies the same way you guys do. It makes me nervous. I'll get sweaty palms. I'll pace. Dylan can tell you. Dylan sees me go crazy all the time. Like I bet I walk 8 miles a week or 10 miles a week around my building. Thinking about what I'm going to say on the call, or I'm getting ready, and I'm nervous, and I try to walk it off. And what it helps me the most is it's always the beginning. It's exactly what I missed her name, but it's exactly what she said. It's the very beginning. Once I make the call, the part I'm scared about is the first sentence. Like once I get that out, so that's the only part I plan. I want to plan with, this is the first sentence of how I'm going to open the call, and then I just turn it into a conversation, and it goes away. And then it's like once you start trying to help someone and they get that feeling, like the connection there is just you're able to really just talk and have a conversation rather than it feel like a pitch.
Absolutely. Dylan, this one's for you from Josh Gilliard. And for the folks watching live, ask some questions right now. This is why we're hosting this live show, is to just ask any questions you have regarding wholesale from two guys who have actually went from, nothing, from zero to a multi-million-dollar wholesale business. So Josh is coming in with a great question. So big shout out to Josh for coming in with this, asking, can a distributor wholesale account be just as valuable as getting an account straight from the brand, Dylan?
It cannot be, except in one very rare situation. So you got to think about supply chains, right? Where the product comes from. If you're buying from the brand directly, you're buying it at the top of the supply chain, meaning that's the cheapest that you're going to be able to buy it because it's coming straight from the horse's mouth, right? Anytime it's being sold by a distributor or a wholesaler, they had to buy it from them, and then now they're trying to make a profit on it so that they're selling it to you for a little more. The only situation really where it is it can be equally as valuable as if a brand has some sort of legal contract where they can only sell the product through a wholesaler or a distributor, and that is the top of the supply chain, same as it would be through the brand. However, it's still important to understand that the relationship that you craft with the brand, the authorization that you have to be their retailer or to potentially be their exclusive retailer, has a very significant benefit and an additional asset to it than if you just had we're able to buy directly from a distributor. If you have an asset that is you're an approved, authorized vendor of this product on Amazon, or an exclusive vendor, there's value in that beyond just the buying and the selling of a product, right? For instance, one of our students, Emmerich Manello, he's originally from France, moved to the United States. He got a wholesale account, and then he sold the rights to sell that wholesale account, that brand direct wholesale account, 2 years after he got it for $400,000. He sold the rights to a wholesale account. He didn't sell his business or anything. Sometimes we just say that because it's easier to explain, but he sold the rights to a wholesale account for $400,000. So you can't do that with a distributor or a wholesale account. You can't sell the rights to it as an authorized seller or anything. There's no way to do that. Because anyone has access to be able to buy from a wholesaler or distributor. So it's an asset. That's why it's always more valuable, the brand direct account, because it is an asset.
I want to talk a little bit about distributors to help people understand what the biggest difference is, right? Like, if you look at a distributor's role in the marketplace, in terms of traditional role, it was to facilitate selling to small stores who couldn't afford massive orders. And like, you know, let's say that you are a pharmacy, and a traditional minimum order with a brand might be, you know, $500, right? $500 in a supplement or you know, aspirin or whatever you would go on your shelves. Well, you're not going to sell $500 in aspirin in your little, you know, your little small pharmacy, right? Like, you don't need $500 in that same SKU. So this is where distributors really came in. Distributors bought those bigger orders. They brought them in, and then they have a smaller order for stores, right? So they take that aspirin, they mark it up a little bit, and the store, instead of having to buy 500 units of aspirin or 200 units of aspirin, they buy 6 from the distributor. They buy 6 of this and 6 of that and 5 of this and 4 of that, and they fill their shelves. Distributors weren't originally created for mass commerce. They weren't created for commercial, for use at the commercial level, like selling massive amounts of units. Like, you should, if you want the best possible price, you have to cut out the distributor and go to the brand. Like, you have to.
Yeah, there's a question here that I'd like to answer too that I saw in the chat, Steve. It comes from AS. They asked, is it oversaturated in 2020 to start now selling on Amazon? And then they also ask, can you do it from Canada? So I'll start with the first part of the question. Is it oversaturated in 2020 to start selling on Amazon? Now, this is a two-part answer. Wait, there it is. Yeah, this is a two-part answer. The first part of this answer is understanding that how not oversaturated it is, how ridiculous Amazon is. So every year, Amazon grows somewhere between 20, 30, and even 40% certain years, right? The year that we got started selling on Amazon, their revenue was like $30 billion or something for the year. And
it's crazy. I don't know what it was in that.
Yeah, it was like $30 billion. In 2019, Amazon's revenue was $285 billion. Next year, it'll be like $330 billion. And they're forecasted to continue to grow like that at least for another 4 to 5 years. And really, no one's really sure. It could be another 10 years. It's insanity. So Amazon's been they've been growing their revenue every single year, which our business gets to ride that growth along with it. And we see and we know that the number of sellers isn't oversaturating the market because our profits and revenue continue to grow. There are many surveys you can look at. FeedVisor has a lot of them, where a very recent one they put out is a ridiculous statistic. It's 1 in 5 Amazon sellers that they surveyed, and they surveyed thousands, sold over $1 million last year. And then like something like 60-70% of sellers saw significant increase in revenue and profit margin in 2019. What that means is the growth of Amazon outpaces the growth of sellers. And that makes a lot of sense when you consider how fast Amazon is growing. So the math says no, that it's not oversaturated. There's just the simple math that it's not oversaturated, and that we're still on really like in the middle or at the beginning of a very insane rise to an unbelievable level. Everyone here knows this. We all agree. Amazon's going to be the most valuable company in the history of companies. And within the next few years, we all see it, right? You know, about half of the people watching here have an Alexa device in their house where they, Amazon's just put that there so you'll buy more products from them, right? So that's the situation of it here. That's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is I'll humor you, and I'll say that I'll approach it from, let's say it is oversaturated, right? Let's say it is a very competitive market, and it still doesn't matter because our business model and what we do and how we approach business and how we teach people to handle business, even if it was oversaturated, it wouldn't matter. This is the right business model for it because we teach people how to compete and win. What is the foundation of capitalism? Capitalism is what we have in the United States. And whether you like it, you love it, or hate it, that's what you have to work with. And the foundation of capitalism is competition. That's what it's meant to be. It forces people to compete, to come to their best and provide the best possible service or product. And if you aren't competing, if you are afraid of competition, well, then you're setting yourself up to fail because that doesn't work in alignment with the foundation of what capitalism is. So we teach people how to crush their competition, how to win the battle of competition. So if it was saturated, Dan and I would still be doing millions of dollars in sales because we're whipping everybody's ass. And that's what we teach people how to do. is be the best and beat all these other loser Amazon sellers. There's people that don't provide value. There's people that aren't hustling and working hard. We teach you how to actually succeed, saturation or no saturation. This is a model, and if you approach it with the right mindset of you compete to win, well, then you'll always have a successful business. People that are looking for opportunities that don't have a lot of competition or they're trying to avoid competition, it's not real. It doesn't exist. If it is ever an opportunity that makes you money, it makes you money for a very short period of time. It's a fleeting thing. It's not building a real business. Remember, capitalism, competition. If you're going to build a real business that's going to be successful for a long period of time, you have to compete. Stop being afraid of it.
Right.
Got it.
That's a lot of, I think a lot of models focus on that, right? They focus on trying to hide or dodge the competition, and you can't dodge them forever. Eventually it catches up, right? Eventually that competition is going to catch up. They're going to find out the little thing that you're doing. But like Dylan said, my goal isn't to hide from them. My goal is to whoop their ass, like, every time. And that's what we try to do, is we win. We teach people to win, and we teach people to be able to provide for themselves no matter what the market looks like.
Now, speaking of kicking ass, I'm going to try a new thing on this software. Let me see if I can overlay something on the screen, because this is one of your students who's kicking ass. Let me see if it works. Can you see what's on the screen right now? Let me
John.
Let me take off this comment. I got comments all over the screen right now going crazy. But can you guys talk about who this is right now? Because when we're talking about kicking ass, this is the first person that I thought of. I interviewed John, I think, last year, and he shared his story of he took the Wholesale Formula course, which is, I know we haven't mentioned it during this webinar, but these guys do have a course, and it's called the Wholesale Formula. And John is actually one of the students who I featured on my channel today.
It's awesome.
It's absolutely crazy how well he has done. And it wasn't, I'll say this, it wasn't just easy for him. Like, this guy had a really, really successful retail arbitrage business before he started wholesale. And, when he started, he asked a ton of questions. Like, he didn't just get it straight out of the gates, but he stayed with it. And I'm pretty sure at this point, he's probably doing around $10 million. Like, it's real close.
A year. Yeah.
And, as far as his business is bigger than ours.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not the only student that has a business bigger than ours. Like, we have, it's crazy. Like, the success our community has had, not just us. Like, we've enjoyed our success as well, but like, we've had several students just pass us by, man.
Yeah, John's one of them. And he's a young guy too. I think he's probably younger than me. He's probably like 28, 29. Met him a few times. He's a great guy, really cool, fun to hang out with. He built a business bigger than ours. He's from Queens, or he grew up in Queens, if that was interesting to anybody. We've got David Wosick. He built a much larger business than us. He's from Chicago area. He was a software engineer, so he was making good money in Chicago as a software engineer. Took the Wholesale Formula, was a smart guy, was able to really leverage it really fast and built a bigger business than ours. There's Trent Deersmith. He built a bigger business than ours, and he did it in a very short period of time. There's Emmerich Manello flashing up. That's a guy that we're really good friends with. Got to have a great friendship with, and that's the thing about the people that we work with and our students in the program is, like, they get to really work with us and grow with us, and we get to learn about them and hang out with them, and we get to they enter our inner circle, right? We effectively just become friends. We mastermind. A reason part of our business has grown so much over the years is because the people that we get to work with through our program, right? We just get to network and mastermind and have grown and learned so much from our students. They've taught us a lot along the way too. That's for sure.
Yeah, this week I think I have some videos from Sean Humanchuk. You guys know Sean. He's actually I moved from Connecticut to Miami. I'm in Miami now, getting ready, waiting to get over to my new apartment. But Sean he's really good friends with my buddy Jameson, and he took your guys' course, the Wholesale Formula. And I don't know if it was after a year or two. It took him a little longer, but I know he had scaled up to $50,000 a month about a little over a year ago. I'm not sure where he's taking his business now, because it seems like it's crazy. A lot of your students, they, it's not easy, right? And I want to preface that by saying, like, doesn't matter what business you start, if it's drop shipping or wholesale or a YouTube channel or a restaurant, like it's never going to be easy, but it's just amazing. Like this model, like the opportunities that it has, like once you build it up, once you figure it out, and that's what's great about your guys' course, you have the system already laid out. You have the resources, you have the community, you have all the tools, the supplies. I've been to your location. You've got a team supporting all the students. Just amazing though, the opportunity. Once you figure it out, like with thrifting, I'm not saying anything bad. Like I love thrifting. I taught my mom, 64 years old. She loves it. Like I'll never stop thrifting. It's in my blood. But there's only so far you can take a thrifting business, right? There's only so far you can take it unless you want to hire like 10 people and get a warehouse and all this overhead. And the cool thing about this business is like there's not a lot of overhead. Although, Dan, don't kill me. I got to bring this picture up, man. Remember this picture?
I looked hungry.
Dude, this is back when you used to have a warehouse. You remember this? Tell everybody this is when you guys used to have a warehouse, because that was a question someone asked, do I need a warehouse?
Yeah, I saw that question earlier. It popped off the screen, but yeah, I mean, whenever we started, it was actually interesting because we didn't realize that, I mean, at the time, I'll be honest, I don't even know if prep centers existed. If they did, they were in their very infancy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I hadn't heard of them. So when we really got rolling, we had our warehouse and we scaled up and we had probably 10, 12 warehouse employees. And, you know, it was crazy because it was one of those things where, you know, it was working, but it wasn't the business I want, man. Like, I don't want a business where, you know, all I did was trade one kind of obligation for another one, because managing, I'm telling you, Steve, managing $10, $12 an hour employees is tough. Like managing a $25 an hour employee, different story. You know, it's quite a bit different.
Interesting.
And I mean, you're just working with two different levels of professionalism. I mean, for the most part. And we struggled. I'm not a great manager. You know, Dylan's not a great manager, and it was a tough situation for us with the warehouse. Like it always felt like we were involved, and when we weren't involved, our our Joel and Kendra, they were out there like constantly, you know, fixing things and stuff like that. And I remember we kind of came to the decision that we were just going to close the warehouse and you know, work out of a prep center. And it was like, we're going to do it no matter what, because it's not for us. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't what we wanted to do. And so whenever we did it, I think our cost went up on processing per item about 3x. So it was a pretty sizable chunk, right? Like, you know, it was a big increase, and there were a lot of products that we couldn't even carry, you know, that made sense on our cost structure in the warehouse, but they didn't make sense with the new cost structure using a prep center. And we took that kind of like as an opportunity, right? Like every one of these is an opportunity. Everything you do in business is an opportunity. And whenever we were going through our inventory, we were combing out, and it was just like, we were looking at two things, like, you know, which ones don't have the margin, and then which ones are do we just spend a lot of time on, and, you know, they don't affect our bottom line the way they should. And this was a time where we just went through, we purged a huge amount of the lines and products that we carry. But one of the things that it does is, you know, and I think this goes back to starting to outsource and bring things, to you know, bring that focus back on your business. Like instead of focusing on our problems and focusing on, you know, all the fires that come up, we were able to start really dialing in to delivering even more value and having more conversations and strengthening those relationships with the brand owners. And I'm pretty sure we ended up cutting about 50 or 60% of revenue off the top line whenever we moved to that prep center. But we generated almost all of that revenue back. But more importantly, we became significantly more profitable. And you're like, whoa, your cost went up. Like, how does that happen? And it's a few different things, man. Like whenever we started focusing on you really dialing into what these brands needed, really working with them, really making sure that we were delivering and following up and talking to them all the time. Like, guess what they started doing? They started saying, you know, we would just rather work with you guys. Like we've seen massive sales increases by doing what you guys said. And they started kicking other sellers off the listing. And it's like, we have less accounts, we have less products, but those products produce more money. And it was because we were able to dial in to what we really love doing, which is adding value, and just get back to doing that. So it's like, is it more expensive to use a prep center? Absolutely. But number one, it positions you to have the business that you want. And number two, it puts you in the position to concentrate on the parts of your business that are going to move the needle the most. And that's what really happened with us. It wasn't that the cost went up and we magically got more profitable. It was really just we got to add more value.
Awesome. Very cool. I know this video is definitely inspiring, motivating, and educating a lot of people. But one of the top things that I know a lot of people are thinking now is like, well, I want to do this, but I'm just terrified. It just seems scary. I'm not used to this. This is completely different, out of the norm of what I'm usually doing. What advice would you give to somebody now? Because we've been breaking down a lot of knowledge, sharing a lot of tips. We've gone through your story. We've been answering a bunch of questions. What advice would you give to somebody who's just, they're just scared, Dylan? They're just, this is something new. They don't like starting new things.
Look, there's no difference between you and me or anybody else that's ever succeeded with our program. I guarantee that you're going to be starting from a position that like much more advantageous than many of some of our most successful students, or probably even me. In high school, so I grew up I grew up poor.
Don't tell them all this. They're going to look at me and wonder why you're my business partner.
Oh, I'm going to tell them. I grew up poor in Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is the poorest part of America, by any definition, stricken with poverty. The county that I grew up in, and it's in the top 10 list of poorest counties in anywhere you look. And single mother, right? I'm in high school. I did really poor. I go to one of the worst high schools in America too, obviously, and don't have a 2.7 GPA at that high school. And my ACT score, if anyone knows about that, was a 19. It was 2 points below the national average. I'm below average on the ACT score. I have a terrible GPA. So it comes to the time where, you're supposed to go to college now, right? Well, one, I couldn't afford it, so that wasn't going to happen. And two, no college was going to let me in. Couldn't go to a university, right, with scores like that. That wasn't going to happen. And so that was where I got into it from a position like that, right? And with nothing, no finances, no money to start with, no family to support me, no education, absolutely nothing. And we were still able to make this work, right? And then, so I think about some of our students. Amy Sherlock comes to mind as an example. She had just...
Her story is actually just incredible. It's incredible.
She had spent years trying to get pregnant, really wanted to be a mother, right? I mean, years. And she got to the point where she was hardcore researching fertility and trying to figure it out. And then she eventually does get pregnant, right? And she gets pregnant, has the child, and then as soon as she has the child, disaster strikes. Her husband gets incarcerated, and then she has to... she goes, because of that, her husband was the breadwinner of the family. She goes bankrupt, has to file for bankruptcy, has to move back in with her parents. But she does have the child. She did have the baby, and she was motivated to provide for that baby. But she had nothing. She got a $2,000 loan from her parents, enrolled in the Wholesale Formula, and 6 months later was doing $25,000 in sales a month. And right now she's doing over 100K right now a month, right, Dan?
That's insane. I'm pretty sure the last time I talked to her, she was making her profit was around 20K a month.
Yeah, right. And
not only that, she was able to leverage that, and she started another business on top of it that deals in natural fertility. So I mean, it's not only did it give her that financial freedom, it was something that really propelled her into something she's incredibly passionate about. And she, whenever she works with somebody, imagine her situation where she was able to actually get pregnant. I mean, she's literally able to deliver miracles to people that can't or haven't had them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way of putting it, and that's true too. That's another thing about this that you forget when you build a business like this, that you can delegate and automate, and so that you can step outside of it. You don't have to be working in your own business 30 and 40 hours a week. You can do other things. You can create other things, your businesses and work in businesses you're passionate about. And so it's Dan and I have been able to do it. Someone asked if we invest in Amazon stock. Oh, duh. We definitely have some investment into Amazon stock, right? In some other places too. We've been able to do investments like that. We've been able to buy. We have how many properties do we have? We have 5 investment real estate properties right now. We bought them all within the last year. About 5 houses, cash, straight cash, homie. Over last year, so we're into that. We're just doing all kinds of stuff, but it's all possible now. It's all possible now because the Amazon business enabled it, right? We've grown to the point where now we've got all kinds of things that we're doing.
So one of the things I want to ask you is like, what's the secret, right? It sounds funny saying that. What's the secret? But like, obviously the wholesale formula works. I think this is my 5th year having you guys on. You wouldn't be in business still helping and serving people, nor would your business still be in business if you didn't know what you were doing 5 years later. So obviously the wholesale formula works. The course works very well. You've had so many success stories, and there's going to be another 4 students that I have on my channel this week. Over the next couple of days, each day a new student will be on my channel. But the question is like, what are you doing differently, right? There's a lot of courses out there. There's a lot of programs. Why should somebody, give you their money to invest in your program? What makes you different? If someone's on the fence right now and they're thinking, maybe I've never invested in a course. So the last time I, spent money was, I spent 20 grand a year at college, right? Go for it. You're being a good student, man.
Right. If why work with me? Why work with me and Dan? What's a good reason? Why should you trust us and believe us? It's because I don't need your money. That's the best way for me to put it. Is I don't need your money. You don't have any leverage over me with money. You offer I don't care about your few $1,000s that you can offer me. That doesn't matter. If Dan and I cared about making money from our programs and our courses, we would sell it for $500 and we would sell 1 million of them, and we'd go buy a yacht somewhere, right? If that were the case, and it would be for sale all year long, and we'd be selling to people constantly. We don't do that either. Our course is for sale for 4 days this year. Today happens to be one of those days. But it's for sale for 4 days, and that's because what we care about. What we understand is that we want to make people successful. We want to create success stories. And that's way more valuable than us just trying to make a whole bunch of money by selling courses to people. If we know that that's why we have so many success stories. That's why it almost makes you sick, because we can sit here and talk about a different student that's had incredible success over and over. You watch the workshop, there's 1 million that we show. You're interviewing. You've interviewed like 4 last year. You're going to interview like 8. It's crazy to think about and to talk about. And it's because we focus and only care about your success. Because if you succeed, our program succeeds. That's exactly right. That's how we've been around for 5 years. Is because I don't care about your money. I care about making you successful. And that's what it's always came down to.
Oh, I want to add to that. One of the things I feel like we do differently is we weren't guys who figured out how to do something a few years ago, made a course about it, and stopped doing it. It's our company has gotten bigger and more profitable every single year. And why does it do it? And it's because what we do actually works. And there's another component to this, right? And we continue to evolve our course, and that's one of the biggest things. Is I think whenever people invest in the wholesale formula, it's our investment back to you. Like, we call this thing a bonus, and it's free updates for life. But it's not. Really, it's not a bonus, because it's our commitment, because we want people to not only be able to build a business and start a business, but have it be a freedom generator. Have it be something that they can own and be proud of. You know what I mean? Like, that's our goal. Our goal is to give people the knowledge that it takes to be successful, not just now, but next year. Like, our focus, we continue to do it. And if you look at the course, in 2015, I promise you, it is entirely different than it is now. And that's because the things that work inside, the things that work on Amazon are different now than they were in 2015. But our business has had to grow and evolve, and we continue to pass that along to our TWF for life folk.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is, I remember when I was going to school, and it was just a little community college, just a little community college. For me to take a class over there, it could be upwards to $2,000 just for a class. Who here, I want to know in the comments, has gone to the university? Who here has gone to college? Who here has spent money on things that you look back and you say to yourself, what did I actually spend the money on? What skills did it actually give me long term, right? And I remember in my high school days, college days, and I took a lot of classes, and I think to myself, what did I actually get out of it? What did I really get out of it? I found that, I'm 32 years old, and over the last 5 or 6 years being in business, and I'm curious about you guys, but when you invest in yourself, when you truly do invest in yourself, whether it's a course or a program, or you actually spend money on something, one, you're going to use it if you spend money on it, and two, the investments that you make in yourself, no one could ever take it away from you. Like, especially if you invest in something where you're actually investing. Like, I used to go to school and I'd pay for classes, like a business class, and the guy wasn't even running a business. There'd be a teacher at your university, and he's not even running a business, and you're spending hundreds of dollars on books. Man, I used to spend $200 a book on what?
Yeah, that's so common too. Yeah.
And it's just like the older we get so comfortable and stuck in our own ways, and we forget that investing ourselves is like the number one thing that you can do. And it's just, I have a lot of friends, guys. I have a lot of friends who I live around, and over the last 5 or 6 years, I've taken my income to the next level. I just spent 20 grand on Tony Robbins. I spent 20 grand on Tony Robbins getting 1 year coaching. I went to all of his programs, Business Mastery, Date with Destiny. I'm not here to freaking impress you by saying that, but I'm saying I'm looking at my friends. I'm looking at people that I used to hang out with 5 or 6 years. They don't invest in themselves. All they say is, why would I spend money on this? Why would I waste money on that? Why would I invest in a book? Why would I invest in a course? And my income keeps going up, and they keep looking at me like, oh, you're a prodigy. There's something special. You're getting lucky. Investing in yourself. I'm not talking just about the wholesale formula. I'm going on a rant right now because too many people, the older we get, especially when you transition from your 20s to 30s and then 30s to 40s, it gets even worse. Once you go from your 40s to the 50s, I see a lot of my followers, they just completely stop. They just completely stop investing in themselves, and they just point the finger at everybody else. And it's like, wait, the answer is within us. Are we going to change? We have to make the decision to be able to change. So that's my 5-minute rant.
I'm lucky that I was too stupid to get into college, so now didn't have all the student debt that comes with it.
So they couldn't even get in.
That's the truth there. But in terms of investing in ourselves, Dan and I spend in some years it's more than this, but we spend well over $50,000 a year. That's a minimum. Investing in ourselves through masterminds, coaching, networking, just everything, and it's paid off so much. Like the return on investment on all that is so insane, and it only multiplies the more success that you have, because you get to the point where once you're at a certain point, your business comes large enough, like ours is, where between all the stuff that we're doing, where we're doing $10+ million a year, is you just one thing, one small little tip or tactic or strategy, one takeaway can generate $1 million in revenue. Like just something simple that you change or you slightly tweak when you're at scale like we are, and it's super valuable. It's insane.
Absolutely. Dan, what advice would you give to somebody right now who is maybe they're thrifting, they're reselling, they're having some success? There's a lot of people who've been messaging me on Instagram. So big shout out to everyone who came over from Instagram. There's a lot of my followers who are on Instagram. They're making $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. And they've been able to build up a little nest of $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. The problem is now they want to take that and they want to invest in something. They've been looking at things like Shopify dropshipping, wholesale, private label. But they're just so comfortable doing what they're doing, thrifting and reselling and auctions and things like that, that they just, they're having a hard time taking that leap over to the next thing. They know they need to change it up to something different, because the problem is with a lot of like basic thrifting and reselling is you're just exchanging your time for money.
I mean, I mentioned that in the story I told earlier. Like I got to where that was, whenever I was driving around in the truck, that felt like that was the only way I could make money, man. And it wasn't because I didn't want to change because I needed more money, Steve. Like I made fine money doing retail arbitrage. I wanted to change because I wanted a better lifestyle. So my question would be, to the folks that's in that situation, right? That, do you enjoy what you do? And if you do, just keep rocking that, man. Like if that's what makes you wake up in the morning is going out and the thrill of the hunt, and you can get passionate about it every day, don't stop doing what you're doing. Maybe find a way to be better at it. Like always look for ways to be better at it. But if you're anything like me and you're thinking, I work really hard, and it's sometimes it's conceited. Like whenever I was in that position, I would look at all these people around me and it's like, man, I feel like I'm smarter than that guy, and he just out earns me. And it's, you get in that, and it's, you have to put if that's you and you feel like you could do more or you want to do more, then you have to challenge yourself. It's a question of inside, right? It's, how much do I want this change? And am I willing to do something that makes me uncomfortable to do it? Because, with the wholesale formula, there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of success stories. Like, we're not joking, guys. It's absurd. And it's literally, all walks of life, from all walks of life. You had Emmerich, who could barely speak English. We've had Michael and Susan, who are 70 plus years old, and started a business and are absolutely crushing it. Like, the thing is, what do those people have in common? They wanted change. They wanted something different. And they said, you know what? Like, I get that it makes me uncomfortable, but I'm okay with being uncomfortable enough to get that change and to accomplish what I want to. And that's my advice to a new seller, man, is if you get up and you can live every day and be passionate about what you do, try to get better at that, but don't change it, man, because don't do something to make you unhappy to try to just make a little bit more money. Mm-hmm. But if you want something different, you have to challenge yourself. You have to push yourself. You have to make yourself uncomfortable. Just like Steve. You've made, brother, I have seen the change that you've made over the past few years. Was it easy? No,
man. No, super hard.
Our story was like, I walked through it and I get emotional when I tell it. And it was because it was hard. Like, it was hard and it was uncomfortable, but you just have to want it more, man. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So if you guys and gals are watching and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I know I got to make a change. Maybe you're doing great in your business right now, or you're struggling and you're trying to make money and you're looking for an opportunity to take your life and take your business to the next level. Dan and Dylan could help you out a lot. They really can. I don't know if wholesale is going to be exactly what you're looking for, but maybe there's something else in your life, or, a lot of times we've got that feeling in our gut, right? You guys ever have that feeling, Dylan, Dan, where you're just like, I know I got to do it. Like, this is just calling me. There's something calling you to start that eBay business or start that wholesale business or start whatever it is. And that gut feeling is just telling you, go for it. But the fear is blocking you. You heard Dan's story. You've heard Dylan's story. You guys have witnessed my story over the years. That fear is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. You're always going to be scared. It's never going to go away. But the best advice I can give you is, if you want to change your life, you've got to understand where it is you want to go. And once you figure out where you want to go, find somebody who's already getting the results, or find a community who's already getting the results, and get as close as you possibly can to them. As close as you possibly can to them. Because, Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor, says you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. And, when you surround yourself with a community or a group of people or a coach or a program, if you invest yourself and you put your heart and soul in it, you will become that if you don't give up. That's the key. You can't give up. And, Dylan, he went out on a ledge and, talked about some of his not so stellar academic scores. And, Dan shared a whole bunch of his downsides, different challenges and some of the things that he went through. And you guys know my story at 21, getting locked up in jail, 250 pounds, smoking weed. Like, we've all gone through a lot of stuff. And I don't know exactly who you are watching on the other side of the screen right now, but I know you're probably going through some stuff and some challenges of your own, and you're trying to find your way. But that's part of the game. Your weaknesses and your short sightings, or how do you say it? Like, just the challenges you're going through, and the these are opportunities. These are opportunities for you. So I want to welcome you guys to, if your gut's telling you to do it, put the fear aside. If you guys want to change your life, if you want to change your business, and you've been watching the free workshop, you've connected with Dan, you've connected with Dylan, only if that voice in your head is telling you to go for it, right?
Steve, here's the one thing I would definitely tell them is, whether the wholesale formula is right for you or not. Like, if you've not been in our workshop, like, you're here for a reason. Like, you're watching us because you want something different, and it doesn't mean a mile different. It might just be this much. You want this much, but you're here for a reason. If you've not seen the workshop, jump into the workshop. Like, take advantage, soak it up. It literally is, the workshop itself is free. But if you're ready to make that leap for the wholesale formula, I mean, it is, I promise, it can be one of those life changers if you want to take action. And I saw it earlier. I think we're gonna talk a little bit about the wholesale formula here. But Big Texas Picker, I think it was, asked, what do I do if I don't have the money to invest in the wholesale formula? And you grind your ass off. That's what you do. You grind your ass off until you find something that works. And it's, it might not be now, and this may not be the right thing for you when you get there. But you grind your ass off until you find what it is, and that's it. Why were we successful? Because when it mattered, I was willing to work harder than other people. That's it. And if you're willing to do it too, I promise you're willing to put in those blood, sweat, and tears, you can do it too. I don't care how you do it, but you can do it.
So if you guys want to transition over a little bit for the folks who, as long as it's okay for the people who are watching live, would it be okay if we transitioned over after adding all this value and sharing some of their crazy stories? Would that be okay with you guys watching to share a little bit about the wholesale formula? Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the free workshop. They put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources into creating that. But I would just love to kind of learn a little bit more for the folks who are ready to take that next step, who want to have, coaches, who want to be a part of the community, for the folks who have the resources available to want to take it to the next level. Put a yes in the comments. Let us know, because I would definitely love to share a little bit more about their program for the folks who are interested. Because again, it's really helped a lot of people. This is their 5th year that I've helping to promote it. And, I'm so passionate about sharing this information in wholesale. Not that I'm a wholesale expert. I've never said that I was a wholesale expert, but there's a lot of people out there who want to learn it. There's been a lot of people who have followed me, who have had success. And one of my jobs at Raiken Profit and creating this content isn't to be an expert and to know it all. What my job is to add value. And when I see a great opportunity, I will do whatever I can to link you up to that source to help you. Or if I have that knowledge, then I'll share it with you. If I can share it with you for free, I will. But if it costs some money to invest, and we already talked about investing, and I think it's a good idea, then I'm going to do that for you. So I would love to have the opportunity to be able to present Dan and Dylan's course to you guys, if that's cool. It looks like D. Brooks is saying, yes, please share, and thank you. I appreciate it. Reseller Flips is saying yes. Frontier Flips is saying yes. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys giving them this chance to share a little bit about it. So whoever wants to take the floor and share a little bit about it, that sounds cool. I'll take the floor if I have to.
So when you enroll in the whole, here's the thing. The wholesale, we'd be here all day if I had to talk about it. So I'll try to summarize it best I can. But the wholesale formula is it's not a course. So I want you to remove that from your vocabulary, right? It's not a course. It's a program. It's a class. It's a community. It's a whole lot more than just a course. There's a lot of courses you can buy, and this is not one of them. You enroll in the wholesale formula, you get every bit of information, everything that a step-by-step process for how our business works and how you can copy it, plug and play, right? But beyond that, you get unlimited lifetime access to a program that for forever. Like when you enroll in our program, you get all the updates forever. You get everything, and then anytime we learn a new strategy or a new tactic, we share it with our community. We mastermind with our community and let them know and about what we're doing and how we're changing and growing our business. So it's then that's another big part of it too, is the community. You enroll in the Wholesale Formula, you kind of start to enter our circle, right? You're in our community of TWF sellers. The Wholesale Formula sellers, which I can let you know how successful that community is. In 2017, this was years ago. In 2017, we surveyed that community about their success on Amazon, and on average, the average person there was 421 people that responded to the survey, and on average that each person that reported had done $1.2 million in sales on Amazon as an average, right? So it's a very exclusive community. There's not I don't want people to think that we just take on tons of students or something. We don't. We take on very few students because we only open this program once a year, and we take a small. It's expensive. We charge a lot for it, so we take in a small group of students, and so success rates are extremely high. And you're in a community. When you're in TWF, we have a Facebook group that has all of those sellers in it as well. So you're in there, not just with us and not just with our team, but in a group of all kinds of other people that have done millions of dollars in sales on Amazon. So when you post a question or you want to learn about something, you get an answer, and you get a really good answer. It's not like going on a random Facebook group somewhere, a free group, or going, trying to just Google search stuff and just hoping that whatever this person is saying is correct. You're getting it from a legit, serious, in a lot of cases, 6 and 7 figure, multi-7 figure seller a lot of times. That's what our program is about. It's about providing that level of value year round, and you can see all the other bonuses that are involved with that we do with our promotion, right? You can get to come to we do a live event, a very expensive live event. We pay over $100,000 to put on just an insane live event every year. This year it'll be in Indianapolis, where you come hang out for 3 days with us, with all the other students, and just hardcore learn. And that's just a free thing that we do in it, like just for students only, every year, that you just get to do every year. So many different insane values and bonuses that we provide to everybody just for being part of our community and group. And it's I don't know, it's hard to really summarize how valuable it can be.
So much going on. I mean, every time you start to talk, you come up with another aspect, and that's really what it is. And the reason that is because we understand that people don't just need information. I mean, information's everywhere. They need support too. And that's what sets TWF apart is, it's not just the information, it's the support, and it's the team. That's the thing, is you join our community, you join our team, and our team is, it's the people who are winning on Amazon. That's what it is.
Very cool. Very cool. And also I wanted to mention, for the folks who join the program tonight and before the course closes, because again, if you're just coming in, the courses, and again, I got to stop saying it. I'm so trained because everyone puts out courses. Yeah. The program, the Wholesale Formula, it is only open until February 13th at midnight Pacific, I believe, which is Thursday night leading into Friday, right? If you're on the East Coast. I think that's right, Dylan. So I want to mention that I'm also throwing in a special bonus as an affiliate working with these guys, and I'll put it on the screen. I got a pretty little graphic created. Let me see if I could take this. You like that, man, right? So I'm actually throwing in a $3,985 free bonus. I came up with that number all myself. It's 100% accurate and correct. But I'm throwing in a bunch of courses and programs that I've created myself. If you guys want to check those out, you can go to raikenprofit.com/bonus. I'm throwing in my men's clothing courses, which are multiple of them. I'm throwing in our toy selling course as well. I'm throwing in and offering one-on-one coaching for anybody who joins the program. So if you join the program, I still recommend that when you're first getting started, keep selling on eBay, keep thrifting, keep doing what you're doing to be able to bring cash flow into your business. Because when you start any new venture, it's going to take some time to have success. And it's always good to have the cash flow coming in to continue paying your bills, to have your money to be able to invest more into wholesale products. So I'm offering one-on-one coaching. So any questions you have, whether it's selling on eBay or Amazon or FBA or books, or you just want to talk to me about entrepreneurship or business, or, you know, how I was able to get my Vanguard account to 6 figures just recently, or anything investing, I'm here for you. Just one-on-one, one-on-one coaching. So that's included. I mentioned my toy courses, say that 10 times, clothing courses. We're throwing in our shoe courses. I'm throwing in a program called Monetize Your Message, which teaches you how to build a brand, which would be great for anybody who's doing wholesale, and also talks a lot about email marketing, a YouTube channel, sales funnels, all types of stuff. So I'm throwing in all of those 100% free if you join tonight and before the expiration of the program. So that's my little spiel. I'm excited. I'm really excited to, it's always fun. We were talking about this the other day. It's kind of cool when you do these, because like a year later, you talk back about the success stories that had come from the webinar or last night's webinar. So for the people watching, this could be your new beginning. This can be the day, sometimes it's the little decisions, and you're just like, is this really going to make a difference? And it's that little decision of saying, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to trust Dan and Dylan. I'm going to trust Steve after 6 years of making videos. I'm going to trust what he says. And you do it, and a year later, your life can be completely different. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. If you do want to enroll, links right there, raikenprofit.com/join. And again, it's only open for 4 days. It ends, it's like 3 days now, because it ends the 13th. If you want those bonuses, just go to raikenprofit.com/bonuses. But anyone who joins through my link, I'm going to be emailing you once everything closes, and you'll get all the bonuses and stuff. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have any more questions, leave a comment below. Anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah, the program.
I just want to say thanks to you, Steve, for supporting us, man. Really, I mean, and the bonuses, like, you are literally throwing in everything you can just to help people get value, and that's your job. Like, that's why you've been successful, is you add value and you continue to do it all the time. And I just want to say, guys, like, for the folks on here watching, like, hopefully, we brought some fire for you guys tonight, like, talking about the stories, talking about, how we've transitioned and grown our business, whether, it's the time for you to join TWF or not. I hope I said something that helped and or resonated with you. No, Steve's not joking. Like, we do take the workshop down, but it is open until the 13th. Like, even if you're not going to join the Wholesale Formula, jump in that workshop, soak up the information, and put it to use. Like, if I don't see you this year, I want to see you next year. I want to see you succeed. Like, really, guys. So just take some action, and hopefully, hopefully this was something that helps somebody somewhere.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the program has a 30-day no questions asked refund period as well. It's a guarantee. So there's really no risk either.
I dive into that a little bit too, because I've seen these. Like, I've seen these kinds of refund periods. Like, our here's the thing with those guys. Like, we're straight shooters. There's no bullshit ever. Like, it is, I've seen these refund periods where it's like, if you watch too much of the course, or if you don't. There's so many ridiculous contingencies. Like, I don't see how. I guess nobody ever gets a refund in those things. Ours is not like that. There's no bullshit. Like, you can call, or you can send an email that says, Dan, I do not like your voice. I don't like your bald head. Like, you can get a refund.
Hey, let's not go.
Refund. And it's because it's simple. Like, there's a couple of reasons we do that. Number one, we know our stuff works. Like, we know it works. We see the success stories every single day. We know it works. And number two, my goal is to develop successful entrepreneurs, not to take people's money. Like Dylan said, we've done quite well for ourselves and continue to do good. That's the reason. We want people to invest in our program because they love it and because they succeed. If that's not you, we're happy to give you a refund. So if that's why you're on the fence, don't be scared. Jump in. I promise you, 30-day, no questions asked refund period for anything, any reason you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, everybody, for watching live. I hope you found value in this video. If you haven't checked out the workshop, raikenprofit.com/free workshop. If you want to join, raikenprofit.com/join. And hopefully we get to see you inside. If not, we'll keep providing value to you guys. You know that. We're here to help. And with that being said, have an amazing night. Peace out, everybody. And we'll talk soon. Bye.